There's probably next to nothing in this world that I'm a subject matter expert at. But if it comes to one thing I know a thing or two about, it's a good nose. Have a look at that thing. Giant, fat Irish honker from the side. Take a look. That's a good nose right there. Big old honker. Speaking of big old honkers, have a look at the nose of John Shrek McPhee. My goodness. Behold it, and there it is. That is another giant Irish honker. Look at that huge Roman nose. Look at the bone in that rascal. My God, I mean, you could smoke a cigar in the shower with that thing. Very impressive. Very impressive. I expect nothing less from a former Delta Force, killed 1,000 people type motherfucker, you know what I mean? I expect nothing less. Speaking of John Shrek McPhee, the sheriff of Baghdad himself, I took his class last fall. The first time he kind of came across my radar, I'd stumbled across him in a podcast. Let me see. The Mic Drop podcast. Looks like it came out July of last year, so must have been around the summertime. I came to know about John McPhee, and I was just blown away by this guy. The way that he talks, his whole, interview style and stuff. I was really blown away by the guy. And I was very impressed. And then I think it was very, very shortly thereafter, he was on the Sean Ryan podcast. And so I watched that, and that was even, I thought that was even better. So I was really impressed. So at this time, I've been shooting IDPA for maybe 3 or 4 months. I've been shooting USPSA for about 2 months. I don't know very much about practical shooting, but I'm starting to love it. And I want to learn more, and my brain's like a sponge. I just want someone to put information in there so that I can learn and improve. And I think, who better than a guy like this? And so I checked out his website, and I had a look, and it turns out that he was coming in my area in a month or two. And so October of last year, that's 24, I grabbed my trusty Glock 45, which I have here. Love this thing. I still shoot it all the time. And here I've got it occluded because, it's just good to practice and dry fire occluded, even live fire too, just to make sure your target focus. So I have a Glock 47, doesn't have a tape on the front of it. This one does. I bounce back and forth just to make sure my vision focus is right. But so I grabbed my trusty 45 and I went. I jumped in my old rust bucket and I drove to Virginia, and I went out and I took his class. I've got some funny anecdotes that I'll close with. Okay, so for starters, Shrek's class, this is like his basic, entry level pistol marksmanship, I guess, whatever it's called. It's his basic entry level class, and so that's what I took. The class is somewhere around 8 or 9 hours, thereabout. You're only going to shoot probably about 50 rounds, thereabout. And the way it goes out is, it was me and about 10 guys. You go out in a line. Actually, in this particular case, you shot one at a time, and then he videotaped each person, with his phone. And then you go back. He's got a computer monitor set up and everything. And then he reviews each and every person about what you're doing, what he thinks wrong, is wrong about it, and what you should change. So you do that, and that takes probably 4 fucking hours. And it was starting to get cold that time of year, and so I was thinking, damn, this is kind of brutal. And so it's about 4 fucking hours, and then you go out and you try to employ the things that he's learned. You go back and watch a videotape again, evaluate it, and I think maybe you go out and shoot one last time just to make sure you've learned everything. All in all, it took 8 or 9 fucking hours to make it through this thing. I mean, if you were just doing instruction one-on-one, you could have banged this out in like half an hour or 45 minutes or something like that. So it was kind of rough. There's a lot of downtime if you ever take that class. Bring a cooler, bring a picket basket, bring a keg of beer, because it's going to take a lot of time. There's going to be a lot of downtime. So the good things about the class, number one, he will have you shooting inside a quarter at 5-7 yards, close distances. For me, the way it worked out for me, I mean, inside a quarter as fast as I could shoot at 7 yards. So, if that's your goal, yeah, you can do it. But this is tactical shooting. It's not practical shooting. So I wasn't sure how this was going to transfer over into the practical shooting world that I'm primarily interested in. But, why not take a class and learn? It's the first time I ever took a class before, and I was new to the shooting hobby that I love. So, why not take the class? So when it comes to practical shooting, the method, the method that he's teaching you is, purely tactical. From a holster, you're going to draw. You're going to take about a half stride step. So if you're going to take a walking step, it's about half that distance. And you're, looking at the back leg, you're going to have your knee over your ankle, your hip over your knee, your shoulder over your hip, and your head over your shoulders. And your shoulders are going to be very high, kind of up around the ears. Like you're going to, with your firing hand, you're going to be pushing out very hard. With your support hand, you're going to be pulling in very hard. And, you press the trigger straight back. That's basically the technique. As you can see straight away, this isn't really going to transfer over into practical shooting where you're a bit more upright, maybe a little forward, but a bit more upright because you need to be able to move. And you cannot move leaning that fucking far over. You just can't. So I was glad to learn and, glad to try something else, but this is not something I'm really going to be able to take with me that much. So I'll give you this funny story that happened. So during the initial evaluation, he takes a video of you and shows you how shit you are. And as he's going through and going through your video, he says, "Oh, what eye dominance are you?" I said, "Well, I think I'm right, but generally I'm shooting with both eyes." And he said, "Well, how could you be shooting with both eyes?" He wanted me to have my head slanted. I see if I can do this a bit more like this. So my right eye was over the dot a little bit more, as opposed to being straight on, which is what I want to do. And so he said, "Well, and this is, typical Army guy. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? You're using one eye above the other. Which one is it?" I said, "Well, I'm using both." He says, "Well, how do you know you're using both?" And I said, "Well, because my sight is occluded." He says, "Well, what the fuck do you, what is that? What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, when you have an occluded sight, your one eye gets the target and the other eye gets the dot." See if I can get this like this. And the dot moves right over to the target. If you're focused on the target, you can see the target with the dot on it perfectly. If you're target focused. If you're not target focused and you're staring at the dot like bird shit on your windshield, then you're just going to see black or whatever color the tape is on your sight. So this is a great way. If you don't see anything but black, you're not focused on the target. You're fucking up. Okay? But it became obvious, very immediately obvious, that this is a guy that's a subject matter expert, but he did not know what occluded shooting was. Most people that are practicing in USPSA, IDPA, whatever, know what occluded is or are doing it on a regular basis. It's just a kind of practice 101, I thought. But, maybe I'm wrong, but he didn't know anything about that. So he started asking me more questions, and I forgot a lesson that I learned many years ago from Army guys. I couldn't tell you exactly where I learned it, but I'm going to tell you. If an Army guy starts asking you questions in a certain tone of voice, don't answer the fucking question. He doesn't want to hear your answer. And I'm thinking, oh, I get to teach John Shrek McPhee, the sheriff of Baghdad, what occluded shooting is. Wrong. He fucking laid into my ass for 10, 12 minutes. He did like 10, 12 minutes on my ass. "You fucking idiot. What the fuck? Who the fuck told you to put tape over the front of your sight? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Blah, blah, fucking blah." He went on and on. He had the whole class laughing at me. I'm being like, I don't give a fuck. It's funny to me. I just thought that, for whatever it is, $600 or whatever the class is, that, the subject matter expert would know what fucking occluded shooting is. At this time, I've only got a couple of months into practical shooting, and even my dumbass knows what it is. So I thought that was pretty funny, and he kept bringing it up all day long while you're shooting. Okay, fucking one eye or whatever the fuck he was saying. This guy was a trip. So remember that lesson. Army guys ask you a question in a certain tone of voice. Do not answer the question. They will wear your ass out. But it also taught me that, you know, the other 9 or 10 idiots that I'm shooting with, they don't even fucking know what it is too. So, you know, maybe I'm the only rookie that knows what occluded shooting is. I don't know. But I do know that half of that class came up to me during lunchtime and after the class and wanted to know all about occluded shooting. So how are you seeing the target if you've got the front of the damn thing taped up? So that was interesting. The old Sheriff of Baghdad did not have that same curiosity, but damn, he wore my ass out. I don't know where I learned that lesson. Never answer guys from the Army, period. So what's the takeaway? What did I learn? Well, for practical shooting, not a lot. Not a lot. To be honest with you, but it was a good experience. I was glad that I did it. But the life lesson that I learned, I'll say it for a third time. Never answer an Army guy when he asks you a question. He's not fucking sincere and he doesn't want to know. That's the lesson I learned. So, John McPhee, awesome nose brother. Thanks for teaching me how to shoot, kind of. I respect the nose. I'm going to say that's about a 9.8 out of 10. That's about a 7. You got about a 9.8 out of 10, brother. That's a respectable beak you got there. So thanks for watching. I got a silly, goofy kind of YouTube channel. USPSA is my passion. I like to shoot steel challenge. I love this stuff. I get online and talk about guns sometimes, talk about what I'm doing to my guns, my Glocks. I like to shoot staccato too. And I like to post videos from my local steel challenge and USPSA, monthly matches. And I'll shoot a major here and there and shoot no shoots a few dozen times. So thanks for watching.